This is my third time recording this episode. So I recorded it, gosh, 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I wasn't feeling too great. I wasn't. We'll talk about that next episode. But I could definitely tell, and I wasn't too pleased with the results of that footage. So redid it. Second time I got through it, I was so ecstatic. I was like, okay, this is great. And then just to find out that we had some technical difficulties with sound. And this is the third time, so hopefully it's not a cursed episode, right? Because we are dealing with royalty, and there are a lot of royal families that did not end well in history. Hi everyone, it's Melissa, your plantita abogada here at Tasteful Nodes, coming to you today with a royalty episode. So I'm not talking about the monarchy, unless you're talking about a philodendron monarchy, but no, we're not talking people, we're talking plants. Today's episode is going to be dealing with plants that have royalty in their name. So we're talking about princesses and kings and all the way down to wizards. I guess wizards aren't technically royalty, but yeah, we're throwing them in there because, Camelot and stuff. Before I get started, I'd like to go through my 3 disclaimers really quick. 1, KKB tayo, kanya-kanyang bayad. For Westerner friends, it means we each pay our own way. I got some great plants on the table today. I don't want anyone paying their rent because I ain't paying any plant child support. Number 2, I'm not an expert. I'm a lawyer. I'm a hobbyist just like you guys. So any factual information that I do provide to you, I'll be sure to flash on the screen and put in the description box down below. Then number 3, since I'm not an expert, any information that I do provide to you that isn't factual is based on my personal observations and experiences. So I'd like you to find experts in your area for particular personalized care for these plants or for personalized information as to where you could find it. These experts could provide you a lot of information that could help these plants flourish under your care. And now that I've got those disclaimers out of the way, let's get started. So I've got 17 plants for you today, and one of them I'm not too sure what the ID is. So I'm hoping that some of you guys might recognize it, might recognize its growing characteristics. Feel free to chime in the comment section down below. Also, if I do not provide you any information that you're looking for, feel free to leave a question down in the comment section and I'll try to find that information. Today's episode is pretty heavy. It's pretty factually based, patent-wise, and I'm hoping that I get a lot of information that you guys are looking for. So imagine my surprise when a post maybe a week ago came out about the royal family, about a poster showing the Philodendron royal family, and on that poster it showed about 12 plants, and I'm like, nope, there's more than that. And sure enough, as I was reading comments, I found Carrie Scholl's comment, and Carrie is a well-respected member of the International Arid Society, of the International Arid community, a admin at the Philodendron Enthusiasts page. She knows her stuff, and yeah, she had more than I actually thought there were, and she says that there's more on top of that, so go figure, right? I'll include the source for that information at the bottom of the screen as well as in the description box down below. Okay, the first plant that I wanted to start off with is the Philodendron Black Cardinal. This is the Philodendron Black Cardinal. The Black Cardinal is a patented plant. The hybrid is patented with the US Patent Office, and the patent number is PP05355. It was developed and patented by Cora Macaulay, as in the Macaulay family, as in Macaulay's Finale, as in lots of other plants hybridized by the Macaulays, those Macaulays. It is described in the patent as a compact philodendron. The compact philodendrons are normally the ones who are rosettes. They're not the ones who are climbers who tend to elongate as they climb up, right? Now, the leaves are described as broad, thick, and leathery. The leaves are brick red when it's immature, when it's newly unfurled, and then it slowly darkens. It is a self-header, which in horticultural terms means it has stiff stems that's rigid enough to hold the plant top upright for several years. Self-headers are also described as being arborescent. So if you know the word arbor, meaning tree, kind of like trees, arborescent, right? Within the Macaulay's growing environment, the patent refers to the Black Cardinal as being capable of tolerating low soil moisture content, as well as low light intensity requirements, making it a perfect candidate for indoor plant keeping. According to the patent, the Philodendron Black Cardinal is a hybrid of Philodendron Wendlandii, Philodendron Hestatum, Philodendron erubescens, Imbe, Fragrantissimum, and an unnamed species. So we've got a secret ingredient in the mix. Now, a point I'd like to make about the Philodendron Black Cardinal deals specifically with the Philippine market. And I don't think this deals with the foreign market unless you guys have seen this and are trying to purchase it. In any case, I'll go ahead and address this right now. Oftentimes when you search for these plants on Facebook Marketplace, you'll see one of two kinds of posts. One of three, okay? Black Cardinal for sale. TC Black Cardinal for sale. Local Black Cardinal for sale. Now, the first one, Black Cardinal for sale, fine, no problem. TC Black Cardinal for sale just refers to a tissue cultured Black Cardinal. We had a lot of those that came into the country during the pandemic, when everyone became a plant parent in the Philippines because we were all cooped up at home and couldn't leave the house. So the third one is a bit of a problem. We don't have any local philodendrons in the Philippines. Philodendrons have been brought into the country and introduced here. So what I think a lot of those sellers mean to say is that as opposed to tissue cultured philodendrons that were, like I said, brought in during the pandemic, local, quote unquote, Philodendron Black Cardinals are actually Black Cardinals that existed here in the country prior to the tissue culture craze during the pandemic. I don't own a tissue culture Black Cardinal, so I can't give you any of my personal observations on it. This guy was purchased in 2018 or 2019, way before the pandemic. It's an easy plant to care for. Just give it well-draining soil. Depending on how you prefer your Black Cardinals, if you prefer them really dark, like I said, give it lower lighting conditions. This is plant number one, the Philodendron Black Cardinal. So plant number two on my list is not actually on the table. So I actually planted my Philodendron Majesty in the ground and I gave it its own tree to see it climb. And man, I didn't do that plant any justice at all. You'll see. This is also a patented hybrid. It is patent number 3535 with the US Patent Office. It was developed and patented by the Robert Macaulay in 1972. It is described in the patent application as having leaves that are arrow-shaped and olive green in normal lighting conditions and black in low lighting conditions. So that seems to be a common theme in dark Macaulay hybrids, that if you want the dark colors to come out, you give it lower lighting conditions. If you don't, they tend to turn out a little bit more green. So the Majesty is actually a hybrid made from hybridizing different generations of the Philodendron Burgundy. So the Philodendron Burgundy is a Philodendron Hestatum, erubescens, Wendlandii, Imbe, and the secret sauce Philodendron, the unidentified one. So it was hybridized against another seedling, against another chosen seedling, and that's what gave us the Philodendron Majesty. Now the Philodendron Majesty, it should be noted, goes by a few names. It goes by Philodendron Bloody Mary, Philodendron Black Princess, Philodendron Black Knight, Philodendron Zulu Prince. However, because it is a patented plant, it should be noted that the name of the plant is Philodendron Majesty and not Black Majesty. The darker coloration should come out simply by altering your lighting conditions. Number 3 on my list is the Dark Lord, or King of Spades. This one has been around for a while. So this is the Philodendron Dark Lord, and I have a larger one in my husband's greenhouse. The reason it's not on the table is because it's decided to climb, and it just fanned out, and it's just huge. It's giant. The thing about the Philodendron Dark Lord is that its leaves seem to be a lot like the Philodendron Majesty, where it's arrow-shaped, it's olive green. Under other lighting conditions, it's a darker green. But the thing with the Dark Lord that differentiates it from the Majesty is that it seems to have spot or mottled variegation on it, and it's not something that is a disease of the plant, because I have 3 of these plants from 3 different places in the Philippines and purchased at different times, and they all have that mottling characteristic in common. The Philodendron Dark Lord / King of Spades is actually a climber. like I said earlier, in my husband's greenhouse, it just attached itself to a bamboo pole and started climbing. The petioles are a dark red color. The stem is the same color as that. It has prominent venations, dark venations in the back that are not as obvious. So here is the front of the plant. The back definitely has those red venations that are more obvious. That's plant number 3 on our list, the Philodendron Dark Lord / King of Spades. So plant number 4 on our list is the Emerald King. The Emerald King is better known in the plant community as the green emerald. If you live here in the Philippines, you may also know it as Philodendron Sensation. The reason it's not here at the table is because we actually planted it at the base of one of our mango trees. We have 50-year-old mango trees on the property, at least 50 years old. So we planted it, 2019 or 2020 at the mango tree. This is this teeny tiny thing, leaves like this big, that have no sinus, right? But when we planted it in the ground and allowed it to grow onto the tree, the leaves gradually started changing shape. And you know, there was this big hoopla a few years ago about, you know, what is a Philodendron Sensation. And a prominent member of the International Aroid Society, someone who is pretty respected in terms of identifying plants, is like, there's no such thing as a Philodendron Sensation, guys. It seems to be a Philippine name. And he actually said that it is more than likely a Philodendron green emerald. So we had a look at our Philodendron Sensation, and sure enough, by that point, the leaves had started changing into that heart-shaped leaf, you know, where the sinus is there, then you've got those 2 earlobes. Yeah, so the Philodendron Sensation started changing into the Philodendron green emerald. And as it started climbing, I mean, it changed from just elongating to actually widening. Heart-shaped leaves, the inflorescence, we have one right now, is white. And it's a pretty interesting philodendron in terms of its ontogeny. It's changes in appearance from a juvenile plant all the way to maturity. So the Philodendron Emerald King is also known as Philodendron Green Emerald, is also known as the Philodendron Sensation here in the Philippines, is actually, possibly, I should say, the Philodendron Emerald Duke, according to Carrie Scholl, who is another respected member of the International Aroid Society and one of the administrators of philodendron enthusiasts. She's someone that I highly respect when it comes to aroids, particularly philodendrons. She knows her stuff. And if she says that it's possibly the Emerald Duke, I'll take her word for it. So the next plant on my list should probably be introduced with 2 others. So let me gather them really quick and we'll get started. Okay, so here they are. We're looking at Philodendron number 5, Philodendron number 6, and Philodendron number 7. This is the White Wizard. This is the White Knight. This is the White Princess. So the reason I said that they should be introduced together is because they came out and were introduced to the plant community roughly around the same time. And people are still confused about which one is which. So it's probably best to do a quick rundown on the differences. But if you want a more in-depth version, I already made a video for you of that. Just check it out here, somewhere here. Anyway, the Philodendron White Knight, White Wizard, and White Princess have 2 things in common: green and white. So green leaves, white variegation. And they're climbers. Yeah, that should probably be where everything ends, the similarities at least. The Philodendron White Wizard is a green and white plant, as I mentioned earlier. The stems and petioles show green and white as well, and those are the only colors it shows, green and white. It's quite an easy plant to care for. As you can see here, it's actually home to a propagation of a variegated ZZ plant that somebody mysteriously cut in my garden. So I just stuck it in here, and now it's rooted and will come out. So a worry for another time. In direct contrast to that, this is the Philodendron White Knight. So we've got the white wizard and we got the white knight. The white knight usually shows green and white leaves, right? I have another one. He's looking quite pitiful. I let him burn. I didn't realize where he was, and I let him burn over the summer. So he's right there in the back, on the back table. But he's not showing the characteristics I want to show, so we're going to use this guy. Now, if you look at the stem and petioles of a white wizard, you'll see that the stem and the petioles are actually violet and white, which is really neat. It's quite decorative in its own sense. The leaves, like I said, are green and they have white variegations normally. In fact, I will probably have some white variegations on this new leaf coming out. Yeah, I see some white right there. So an interesting fact about this guy is that sometimes when it unfurls, its new leaves will also show violet on them. So this guy is pure white and green, different shades of white, but this one sometimes has white, green, and violet. And it's more obvious in some of the older leaves. Yeah, check those variegations out, right? Yeah, here's another one. So we got some white right here, and then we got violet and green. It's really quite stunning when you see all three colors come out on the plant, on the leaf. It's such a stunner. And I'm hoping this new leaf goes in that direction. I know my other plant did that, and I'll have to find a picture of it when it did do that because it was just such a stunner. But I'll have to bring that back to better condition. Now, let's go to plant number 7. This is the Philodendron White Princess. So the white wizard is white and green. The white knight is white, green, and violet. The white princess is white, green, and pink. It's white, green, and pink on the leaves, on the stems, on the petioles. The pink doesn't always show up for some people. Sometimes the pink just shows up on the petioles and the stem, but that's a really important characteristic in order to differentiate it from the other two, is having that pink on the stem and petioles, even if it doesn't show up on the leaves. That is the difference between Philodendron's white wizard, white knight, and white princess. Thankfully, my white princess, even though she decided to put out an all white leaf with just a little bit of pink on it, looks like she's going to be giving me a green leaf to help further this line. The rest of her growth points are actually white, and I'm really nervous about that. So hoping for the best with this girl. Otherwise, I'll have to chop her up again. Between these three plants, I would say that the white knight is a little bit more difficult compared to the other two. It is a little bit more sensitive to being wet. So yeah, definitely check out my video showing the differences between the three, because I go a little bit more in depth about my experiences with them. And it might be helpful to you if you're having difficulties with anyone. Plant number 8 on our list is actually a plant that I don't have enough of. And I say that I don't have enough of it because there are different variations of this plant out there. The one in particular that I really want is the black cherry. They call it the black cherry. And I'll show you in a bit why I want that one. This, my friends, and this one right here, these are Philodendron Pink Princess. So I have this one growing in a pot of Pathcal because she was given to me as a cutting, and she's so well rooted and doing so well that I don't want to take her out. I'll have to eventually. The Philodendron Pink Princess was the it plant in 2018, I think, along with a Monstera albo, and its popularity just doesn't seem to have faded. In fact, it seems to have gotten stronger, and this is true as more people flex their more mature plants online. You know, it's like you see these gorgeous, huge, broad-leafed Philodendron Pink Princesses, and you're just like, oh my goodness, this is what could be, except this is us right now. So with the Philodendron Pink Princess, there's a really strong arabescence quality to it. In fact, a lot of these plants on the table seem to be arabescence hybrids. At least the ones that the patents I could find. The ones without patents, I mean, you can kind of tell because of the coloration of the petioles and the stems. I mean, the red just comes out so strong. The Pink Princess is characterized by violet, this dark red, and pink. So violet and pink stems and petioles. You'll see it there. They have it there. And like I said earlier, sometimes the leaves are like a dark color. The black cherry that I was referring to earlier has these really, really dark leaves and this neon pink variegation on it. It's just stunning. And then there are others out there that are marble or galaxy. I'm not too sure. You know, fine. But the goal really is the black cherry that I really want. This sometimes can come out with white variegations as well. Like I showed you down here, you know, the variegation seems more white than pink, which is a problem. As you can see down here, variegation is more peach than pink, which is also a problem. I mean, in terms of identification, sometimes people get confused. They say, oh, it's white, pink, and green. It must be a Philodendron White Princess. But no, that's not the case. It doesn't work like that. Have a look at the stems as well. Have a look at the petioles, and then compare it to what you know. So the petioles and stems of the White Princess are white, green, and pink. The petioles and stems of the Pink Princess are pink, violet, reddish, dark red. Yeah, so that's the differentiation there. Like I mentioned earlier, it's important to look not just at the leaf colors, but also at the petioles and stems. And this is another reason why I mentioned that. This girl right here. Sorry, she needs to be repotted, and I haven't had time. Like I mentioned earlier, got sick. It was quite horrible. Still not completely resolved, but hopefully by the time I record my next episode, it will be. I'll have some resolution at least. So, this, my friends, is the Philodendron Orange Princess. The Philodendron Orange Princess shows off the arabescence colors, those really dark petioles and stems. Has a similar leaf shape as Philodendron Pink Princess. White Princess, fine. The only differentiating characteristic is where the Pink Princess has pink, the Orange Princess comes out more orange. And I know I have peach down here. There we go. I know I have a peach leaf down there, but the orange of the Orange Princess only comes out on the newer leaves. Because once the Orange Princess actually starts, I guess, maturing, as the leaf starts maturing, the variegation actually starts turning a lighter shade, so a whiter shade, and you start losing that color that makes it orange, which is really nice, and it's a shame. But when you get those new leaves, especially when they're super dark and there's so many variegations on it, I mean, it's such a stunner. I have not yet seen a Orange Princess that has sectoral variegation like this guy does, like this Pink Princess does, or this White Princess. I imagine it would be a stunner when we finally do see a Orange Princess that looks like that. The Orange Princess is a mutation from a Pink Princess mother plant. And that is the information that I got from the very first Orange Princess that I saw online. I saw it and I'm just like, oh my gosh, what is this? So a lot of people also had the same reaction, and a lot of people were like, no, Pink Princess, just different color. And I mean, when you see them in person, there's no denying the difference in color between the two. What the owner of the plant did say is that she asked the seller, the person who sold to her, to see what the mother plant looked like. And the mother plant was a Pink Princess. I believe it was a darker Pink Princess, you know, the cherry kind that I referred to earlier with the really dark new leaves. Explains why the new leaves for this come out really dark, and possibly why this is slightly different from this is because not all Pink Princesses have that really dark leaf that comes out. You know, some of it comes out olive green. These guys, the new leaves, are always really dark, and that dark background against that orange really makes it stand out. There is a Pink Princess mutation that I do not have on the table, and I don't have in my life just yet. That would be the Persimmon Princess, which is quite stunning in its own right. Persimmon being more orangey apricot versus orange, neon orange, or pink. It's really pretty. While we're talking about princesses, let's go ahead and talk about a plant that I cannot find. I cannot find for the life of me. And of course I didn't take any footage because I wasn't in editing mode yet, so I didn't take any footage to show you. A reverted pink princess is actually what becomes a burgundy princess or a green princess. Yeah, so that plant totally played now you see me, now you don't with me. I mean, I had it and I was completely bummed to have it. I mean, it's great for content, right? That I'd be able to show it to you, that I have a reverted pink princess, but it's nowhere to be found. I'm not sure where it is. But yes, anyway, on one side of the mutations for pink princesses, you have the persimmon princess and the orange princess, and then on the other side, you have it reverting, and when it reverts, meaning it loses all of its color, its variegations, and it doesn't come back, you now have a burgundy princess or a green princess. And there's not much else to say aside from that. It still displays its red petioles and red stems. It just does not show any variegation on its leaves at all, and won't. There is a name floating out there that I haven't been able to locate any real good information on, and that's the Philodendron Red Princess. Some websites show Red Princess and it's a Rojo Congo. Another one showed the Red Princess and it's a Green Congo. And then another website showed a Red Princess, and it was a Red Emerald. So it's like, you know, will the real Red Princess please stand up? I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. I don't have any information on the Red Princess. That remains to be seen. I don't know how to track down any true correct information on a Red Princess because it doesn't seem like anybody knows what a Red Princess looks like yet. So if you're looking for that information, I'm really sorry. Hook me up with some links if you do have anything that is actually substantial other than, okay, this is a Red Princess and shows me Rojo Congo, a Red Congo. So I know we talked about variegations and mutations of pink princesses and reversions of pink princesses, but you know what isn't a reversion of a pink princess? A royal queen. So the next plant on our list is a Philodendron Royal Queen. Here she is in all her glory, all her torn glory. And this is also known as a Zulu prince. So it shares that incorrect name with the Philodendron Majesty as well. When I say that this is not a reverted pink princess, it's because this plant is actually patented, and it's been patented for years, decades now. Let me get that info. So yeah, that's what I say. Contrary to what some people say, it is not a reverted pink princess. It is not, guys. It is its own plant. The actual hybrid of Royal Queen was developed and patented by Robert Macaulay. So it was patented in 1973. Like I said, it's been around long time now. The patent number, should you need to look it up, is PP03396. It's described in the patent as having leathery leaves that are a grayish brown when immature and an olive gray when mature. So, I don't have any. I guess this is my newest leaf. And this is the, this is the grayish brown. See that? It's really quite stunning. I saw a picture of Aubrey Miles. There's an actress, a Philippine actress who had one of these, and as soon as I saw it, I was just floored. I'm like, what is this? I need it, and why do I not have it? Hers is gorgeous. It really is. As the leaf unfurls, it's a little darker. It's definitely grayish. It's definitely brown. And then it will actually start lightening up based on the amount of color that you provide it. So this lives in my greenhouse with a 70% shade net, and it gets a lot more light than it probably should. But it's really a gorgeous plant either way. I do enjoy those new gigantic, I mean, they're broad heart-shaped leaves, and it's really a stunner when you look at it and when it's fuller. Thinking about doing some notching in it just to encourage some of those nodes to grow and make it a fuller plant, but probably do that some other time. Not today. We don't have time for that today. So Robert Macaulay noted in the patent that the two-color effect becomes almost black when the plant is grown in darker conditions. So there you go, there's that trick again, that tip. Most of the Macaulay hybrids, the dark ones at least, they will grow out darker if you give them lower lighting conditions. And Robert Macaulay actually put that in his patent. So there you go, guys, from the man himself. According to the patent, the Royal Queen is a complex hybrid created using Philodendrons Wallandii, Hastatum, Erubescens, Imbe, and the secret sauce Philodendron that is unnamed. The next plant that is not on the table, because I planted it in the ground, I actually had it in a pot on the ground, and this thing went wild. It went wild. It developed 5 different growth points, and it just started scattering all over the ground. So what I did is I left the base plant, since it was already rooted into the ground, in its pot on the ground, and it still has 2 vines that are growing from that plant. And then I took the 3 other vines, I cut them, I repotted them, and I put them on poles so I could see what they look like when they get bigger. And oh my goodness, it's such a stunning plant. And this plant is, this is the one that threw me off, I think, the most when I was doing research. It's a gorgeous plant, but it was not expected. The information I got was not expected, that's for sure. According to the National Organization of Gardening's plant database, the patent number, yeah, it's patented. The patent number for the painted lady is 3958. So if you search that on the US Patent Office, it should be PP03958. There should always be that PP0 at the beginning. A quick search of this patent shows that the painted lady is a hybrid of the Macaulays. Surprise, surprise. So the people who like creating those really dark leafed philodendrons actually created a hybrid that's super sunshiny and happy and just completely out of character for the kinds of philodendrons that I have in my collection, at least. So it really blew my mind. It threw me for a loop. I love it. It was developed and patented by Robert Macaulay in 1976. So the painted lady has been around for a while. It is a climber. That's another thing that's uncharacteristic. It is a climber as opposed to the rosette, the compact rosettes that Robert Macaulay preferred, that he preferred developing. The patent notes that the leaves of the painted lady are brilliant yellow and green, and the stems, petioles, and sheaths are bright red. Like I said, it's just such a happy, gorgeous looking plant. And I know a lot of people are not too into it because they think it's, you know, they equate a really good price to it being cheap and therefore not worth anything. But man, you know, if you have a bouquet of leaves, that would be a flower in your bouquet, because in your bouquet of leaves, because it is just such a stunning color. The painted lady is a complex hybrid made of a cross between Philodendron burgundy, which we discussed before, is a Hastatum, Erubescens, Wallandii, Imbe, and secret Philodendron. They cross that with an Emerald Queen, which is an unpatented hybrid from 2 unidentified species. So their Emerald Queen is actually an unpatented hybrid of theirs that was created from 2 unidentified species. Go figure, you know? If it's anything like the Emerald King or the Red Emerald, it would actually explain the growth pattern of this being a climber rather than being a rosette, a compact rosette, because those guys are climbers too. Since we're talking about bright sunny colors, our next plant should probably be this guy right here. This gorgeous guy right here. And this gorgeous guy, this little itty bitty guy right here. So this, my friends, is a Philodendron Prince of Orange. This is actually a propagation that I made from maybe a few nodes of this guy, and such a stunner. This was developed and patented by Cora Macaulay in 1989. Its patent number is PP06797. It's described in the patent as being a compact, self-heading philodendron. And you can see here, you've got that rosette shape, the overlapping leaves on each other. It's really compact. Like, the stem is short. The inner nodes are even shorter. And we'll get to that in just a little bit. I have in my notes that the new leaves are bright orange, which changes to orange and then to an apricot and then to a yellow green, as you see right here, and then it changes to medium green as it matures. Very, very characteristic and typical for the Philodendron Prince of Orange. You see that gorgeous leaf there. Gorgeous! The petioles of the Philodendron Prince of Orange are pink, pinkish red. I don't know if you can see that. I'll have to get a close-up for you. Unlike its darker Macaulay relatives, the patent notes that the Prince of Orange actually needs high indoor light and moderate temperature for good color. Another interesting thing to note is that, oh yeah, see, I was kind of referring to this earlier, is that because the nodes, the internodes of the Prince of Orange are tiny, since they're so close together and since the plant is so compact, this is actually a plant that Robert Macaulay suggested for tissue culture in cases of mass production. Because obviously if you're cutting, to create a clone of the plant, you're going to be cutting through nodes just to get one node. The nodes are so tight that it doesn't make sense to do mass production that way. The patent describes the parentage of the Prince of Orange as a cross between a Philodendron domesticum, that's new, we haven't mentioned that yet, as being apparent for any of these guys, a domesticum, an erubescens, again, the red that shows up in the petioles, a Winlandii, and an imbe. So that hybrid, which is crossed against a Philodendron canifolium. Their hybrids are amazing and interesting, and man, they take so much time to develop just because of all the hybrids that they include, all the characteristics that they try to get to, I guess, match up the visuals, the visions that they see for these plants. Plant number 14 on our list is known as the Autumn Queen, if you're from Australia. And here in the Philippines, we call it orange marmalade. And I know it's also called orange marmalade by some people in the US, but some people in the US also call it quad color. And that is the Philodendron Autumn Queen. So the Philodendron Autumn Queen actually shares coloring similar to the Prince of Orange and to the Painted Lady, where the new leaves come out super shiny and bright and happy. However, there's a big difference between all three. So based on my observations, the Autumn Queen, or the orange marmalade as I like to call it here, is actually a climber. So this guy climbs, the newer leaves come out orange. The new leaf for the Prince of Orange comes out orange as well. But one main difference between the Prince of Orange and the Autumn Queen is the fact that the Prince of Orange is a compact rosette and the Autumn Queen is a climber. So if you're ever faced with that, you can immediately eliminate the Prince of Orange if you notice that the plant that has an orange new leaf is a climber. Eliminate the Prince of Orange because it is a compact rosette. The difference between the Autumn Queen and the Painted Lady, although they're both climbers, the Painted Lady leaves tend to come out more like a yellow-green, the new ones, whereas the orange marmalade come out orange. And it's got like variations on it, speckled, mottled variations, really pretty. Kind of similar to the Painted Lady in that aspect, where they've got those pretty variegations on it. The Autumn Queen actually has longer leaves, longer than this even, but it seems to be more rectangular, longer, and then tapers off at the end, rather than gets broader in one point and then tapers off. It's actually just long and tapers off. Those are the main defining characteristics between the Autumn Queen orange marmalade quad color from the Painted Lady and from the Prince of Orange. So an interesting plant that I have on the table is this. This is, I don't know if you can see him. There we go. This is a Philodendron Choco Empress, and it hasn't done well. This poor thing almost died on me, and you could tell by the older leaves, just ugly. Newer leaves are getting much, much better. The Choco Empress is an unpatented hybrid, and it is sometimes known as Pluto. The only mention I've seen of a Philodendron Pluto, aka Choco Empress, is actually, interestingly enough, in another plant's patent. And let me get that information because I don't want to mess this up. So in the patent PP06293, developed and patented by Cora Macaulay, again, the Macaulays, the Red Empress, as opposed to the Choco Empress. So again, the names, guys, the names, everything just ties together, right? The Red Empress has lobed, hooked, here we go. So we've got those hooking, okay, that didn't come out right. We have those hooked leaves at the bottom, as you can see. Has hooked leaves, so the Red Empress has hooked leaves as well. It's red in coloration as mahogany colored petioles, so an arabescens type hybrid again. It has serrated leaves, just like the Pluto and the Choco Empress. The patent notes that the Red Empress is a product of Winlandii and Bipinatifidum, with a selection hybrid of Winlandii by Imbe. According to Carrie Scholl, the Philodendron Red Empress is actually a sport of the Philodendron Pluto. So there we go. The patent for the Red Empress, I have in my notes, compares it to the Pluto or Venus, meaning it can be compared to those plants, and meaning since the Choco Empress is a synonym for Pluto, they're all the same thing. And there we go. We connected the dots for that one. This is the Choco Empress. And it's facing the wrong direction. It's growing in the wrong direction. So a plant that I have here on the table, which I completely adore and I'm just so enamored with, is the Philodendron Red King. So this is the Red King. It is also known as Red Sun. So Carrie Scholl also mentioned that the Red King and Red Sun are likely the same plant. The Red King comes out with these gorgeous, gorgeous red leaves. I mean, it is normally brighter than this even, and it can't be denied. The margins of the leaves, the older leaves, remain red even as it turns green. Undersides of the leaves also have the red venation. Sorry, I just got so distracted. I didn't realize that this was at one point variegated. Yeah, it looks like I have variegation here, a little bit there. Nope. 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 Yeah, so I had some sport variegation on this. Interesting. You know, to cut or not to cut around that area. Probably not to cut, just because I can't imagine losing this plant. We only made one sale of this plant because after that, you know, when you cut these kinds of plants, they don't grow fast. The new leaf that comes out of a top cut may be smaller just because it's acclimating to its new growing conditions, but it'll continue to get bigger and bigger, right? These guys, what you're dealing with mid cuts and base cuts, they just grow out small. They come out small again. So I don't want to have to deal with a new plant that comes out small. I don't have the patience for it. Anyway, yeah, I'll just enjoy it. I'll just enjoy looking at it. I don't want to cut it. And that's the Red King, Red Sun. Now, the last plant on my list was sold to me as a Philodendron Prince Albert. The Philodendron Prince Albert is described in its patent as a self-heading, very compact, low-growing, true rosette philodendron. I'll have to find the patent number for you because I didn't include that here. The plant that I have, and I'll go ahead and flash that on the screen right now, is actually a compact, low-growing rosette philodendron. Fine, I can live with that. The leaves form a dark brick red to dark reddish green compact rosette. This is the part that throws me off. This is what the patent says. In addition to the rosette form, the petioles are black, red, and winged. So when I think winged, I think of the Alati undulatum with the wings on its petioles. And I'll go ahead and flash a picture of what a winged petiole looks like to me, right? Interestingly enough, the patent notes that the Macaulay Prince Albert is compact, bushy, and spready. So what mine did is it actually spread. It spread on its own, like this says. The plant breaks free from the crown, giving a rise to a clump of plants, thereby filling the pot. Whereas other philodendrons require 3 plants planted in a 6-inch pot to provide a full, well-balanced pot. Well, that's the thing, is I don't have this in a pot, so I don't know if that's how it would have grown out, like a Burley Marx, a Philodendron Burley Marx, where you have that clump of philodendrons at the bottom, or even like a philodendron sensation, as we call them here, where you have this growth of clumped plants at the bottom of the main plant. Given that it's grown out a baby on its own, I assume that it probably would had I kept it in a pot. According to the patent, the Prince Albert is a complex hybrid of a selected seedling of Winlandiae domesticum erubescens imbe and an unnamed species by a Philodendron canifolium. I'm not sure what I have, to be honest. The part that throws me off more than anything, more than the compact, bushy spreading, because I already see a baby out, so there's a very good chance that it would do that if I left it in a pot. The part that throws me off is the lack of wings. There are no wings. I searched around, and the only other plant that I think it could be is the Queen Elizabeth. But what I know about the Queen Elizabeth is that it is a climber, if I'm not mistaken. And it was a hybrid that was created in India. So quite a ways off. I'm not sure what this is. If you know what it is, let me know in the comment section. If you don't know what it is, like throw a guess in there just so that we could do some research. Maybe it is what you think it is. I'm not sure. But yeah, so that is my final plant, my mystery plant, the one that doesn't neatly fit a box. Thanks for watching today. I had a lot of fun researching this episode, and I hope you had a lot of fun watching. I hope it's helpful. If it is, feel free to give this video a like. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click that notification bell for future content. If you miss me during the week, check me out on Facebook. I'm there as Tasteful Nodes. If you just want to look at pretty pictures before you doze off at the end of the day, check me out on Instagram. I'm there as Tasteful Nodes as well. Okay guys, until next time, sa uulitin, keep your notes classy and tasteful. Bye.